Am I the asshole for telling my husband my traditions matter too? Update. I'm sorry I haven't responded until now. I really didn't expect to get so much attention to this. So my husband is difficult. His autism means he really has a hard time adapting to other people's thoughts in general. And things being different is hard for him. But cooking, food-related things is a huge obstacle. It takes him way longer than the average person to come around, usually. But I think he realized he really missed the mark on this one. While I was steaming about this and hiding out in the bedroom to cool down, he went out and bought more ingredients, then made the salsa exactly as I was trying to make it originally. He understands this doesn't make what he did better, and he was honest and admitted that while he couldn't fully understand why it was important to me, he understands that it is, and he does love me and wants to at least try harder to understand. It was like this with the name thing as well. It took him several weeks or so, but we sat down and talked about it, and he realized that there was no reason I should take his name. He would never consider changing his, no one would expect him to, so it wasn't fair to expect me to do it. We talked more about the salsa thing, and he admitted that part of his defensiveness is that when I push my traditions, his brain thinks of it as a rejection of him. He also worries when things don't go the way he thinks they will and will sometimes shut down, which admittedly for him is taking control inappropriately. He's aware this isn't right and it's not my problem to deal with. He's promised to just stay out of the kitchen going forward. I know these am I the asshole don't paint him in the best light, but I do know him. I know he tries, but it takes a lot of patience and time, and I just get frustrated sometimes because it is hard dealing with someone on the autism spectrum. It's hard for him to adjust to things, and he forgets that he can't just rationalize, logic, all his conversations with me. Sometimes he realizes in a few minutes he's being an ass, but often it's much longer and takes several conversations. I appreciate everyone's concerns and advice. Others who are significant others to people with autism really help put into place that it really isn't easy. I promise that while there are admittedly red flags, I would never be with a man that long-term refuses to be, can't be better. This is one reason we haven't had kids yet. He's come a long way from when we met, but I don't think he's quite there, as this situation proves. Recently I told my husband I was going to make him traditional style roasted salsa verde like my family made. I was super excited about this. I haven't made it since before we even started dating. Some background on this: my husband is autistic, and is a cooking snob, made worse since he is a chef. 2 years ago I told him I don't like cooking with him and refused to do it anymore, because he always talked down and corrected me. He insisted it was so I can improve my technique, despite me telling him it was just fun trying things. He never comments on taste, my process if he's watching. He asked to help make the salsa, so I asked him to chop the vegetables and I would do the rest since there really isn't much. He immediately smashed the garlic, which I asked him not to, because it was easier to peel. He watched me cook a few seconds and proceeded to start a second burner and spray it with butter, despite my telling him that wasn't needed. He insisted on shaking the pan to roast the veggies because it's more efficient than my turning them to roast each side. Just undermining me every step. I tried to feed him a chip with the salsa when we finished and he insisted he couldn't eat as he was in work mode. I commented I thought we were just having fun, and he basically insisted he was in work mode and to give him a few minutes. I decided it wasn't worth the fight and stepped outside for a cigarette. I came back, asked if he'd tasted it, and he said it was good but added cream and other stuff. I got upset and told him that wasn't what I was trying to do. He said he was just trying to make something good for us to snack on. I explained nothing about this was traditional anymore and that's why I was upset, and he insisted that the changes were fine, it just made it better and the process more efficient. I got upset and pointed out how traditional seemed important enough he had to come around to me not changing my name before we married, and it was good enough we spent a year going back and forth on adding my name to our future kids. Hispanic culture kids get both last names. He got mad and said having his son carry on the family name is different than making some salsa. I told him it was more than that. He always assumed his way is the way we do things, and I was tired of fighting for my traditions to exist in our family. He said it was natural since we are in the US to assume we're doing things that way, since that is what is traditional is here. I told him he married a Mexican woman born in Mexico, and my traditions matter too. We went back and forth and now I'm not even sure who's right anymore. Not the asshole. He took over and changed your recipe, but this is also clearly not about the salsa. Best of luck to you. Not the asshole. It's hard to decide if his cultural chauvinism is worse or his patriarchal chauvinism. Not the asshole. He's a chef and a self-confessed food snob, but he put fucking cream in salsa verde? That is a sin and a crime. What a monstrosity. Obviously, as others have said, there are obviously bigger issues in your relationship here, but I'm just horrified that anyone would bastardize salsa verde like that. Not the asshole. Autistic or not, he sounds like a controlling dick. Not the asshole, he's showing you that he doesn't respect you or your traditions and that your wants will always come second to his. Not the asshole. Seems like this is about a lot more than salsa. Have you tried therapy to discuss why you feel your traditions are less important or erased in your family? As far as the cooking goes, tell him he's not welcome to help you if he can't stop picking on you or trying to improve your dishes. And then enforce that boundary. Not the asshole, but why are you with him if he undermines you and doesn't take your culture seriously? Like, personally, as a Latina, why would you subject yourself to that? Not the asshole. Your husband does not respect you and is unwilling to change his mind. Please don't have children with this man. Am I the asshole for shaming my dad into dieting? Edit. Firstly, thank you all for responding. It has been enormously helpful. I never looked at my dad's eating habits like they were an addiction or coping strategy. I am horrified looking back at our behavior during the pandemic towards the issues my dad has been facing. We let our financial and health worries get the better of us and we took it out on him. I want to focus any sort of discussion or helping strategy we have on mental health and his well-being. And accept that we cannot control him. Thank you all for the advice and the second opinions. I wrote this post out of anger and frustration. But at this point I feel relieved. Immensely sad and regretful for my actions, but relieved. I am going to try and change my behavior and hopefully learn to spot these things sooner. I know it may not be an eating disorder or an addiction. And I would never assume so without a diagnosis or my own father's opinion. But when I have interacted with people struggling with addiction, I advocated for the exact opposite of my behavior with my own father. That tough love isn't effective. That shame is torture. And that compassion and understanding is the real way to help. Thanks again, y'all. Original post. My dad grew up poor and often didn't have enough food to get his needs met. Around the time I was in middle school and my family has finally started doing pretty well for themselves. My dad, for lack of a better term, has become a bit of a glutton. Drinking beer, having massive steaks, pork chops, pies, cake, you name it. And especially fried foods. Fast forward again to high school and I get shaken awake by my dad. Mom was out of town, saying he needs to go to the hospital. In a 3 a.m. panic I gun down there and we are told that the massive amount of fried chicken and beer he had the night before caused an incredible painful reaction of gas and inflammation for him. The doctor said to moderate and we should be okay. A week later he has big feast with beer, it happens again. And again. Now the new normal was I would occasionally get a text on the bus ride to school from my mom saying that they had to go to the hospital that night. It was costing a small fortune without insurance. So the doctors recommend gall-bladder surgery. I'm not sure the details, but essentially it will make it easier for his stomach to produce bile. I am home from college and trying to monitor my dad's diet while my mom is out of town. During the pandemic, he had to start going to the hospital again for the same issue, overeating fatty foods and alcohol. I love and admire my dad, I want him to live forever. When I confronted him and asked him to monitor his food and alcohol intake and said I wanted him to live as long as possible, he said he's 75 and if this is the way I go out, so be it. I refused to accept that, and I got him on some diet I found online that basically says eat anything with moderation and no fried foods. We are both on it. He hates it and he'll eat way more than allows. I'll yell at him and he say something like I've lost 4 pounds or it's a cheat day. I'll yell again and tell him I'm not driving him to the hospital again and tell him to stop eating like a pig. It doesn't work. We still have to go to the hospital occasionally. Last night it was really bad. We went out to dinner for the first time since the pandemic started. With our extended family. My dad cut loose with whiskey, beer, wine, sambuca, fried calamari and a massive steak and I didn't see it happen. My mom and I have spent the whole night and into this morning trying to convince him to eat better. Well, by this point we're just screaming at him. We are calling him selfish and how much it hurts to see him like that. My mom and I didn't know what to do. Now I think we're just pointing out everything unhealthy he eats to try and shame him into it. My aunt saw this and told us to let him eat how he wants to, he's 75 and an adult. And obviously he thinks the same thing. Now I'm having bit of a moral crisis. If my dad is willing to suffer the consequences, why should I shame him for his eating habits? Am I being the asshole? Soft, you are the asshole. I'm sure it is hard to watch him sabotage his health. But please know, shaming people like this simply doesn't work. All you will do is sour your last years with him. Instead, get therapy and learn to deal better. A soft, you are the asshole. Op. Childhood food insecurity can lead to binge eating disorder in adulthood. Simply shaming him is not going to make him change his eating habits. This is likely a psychological issue that requires professional help. But he has to want to seek help, and you can't force him to. You are the asshole. Hear me out. I'm a hospice nurse. I've seen a lot of people die. If there's one thing in common with a lot of them, it's this. Life is short and I was entitled to make my own choices, which may have brought me to this, but they were still my choices to live the way I wanted to. Let him enjoy his life the way he wants to, even though it seems selfish to you. We all deserve to make our own decisions, and regrets are part of the process, but in the end, it's just the way life goes. Tell him you love him every day and try not to nag. Enjoy whatever time you have left with him and create new happy memories. Everyone sucks here. Your dad is having gall-bladder attacks which are brought on by high-fat meals. Those attacks are excruciatingly painful and will continue to get worse. I know because it happened to me. You shaming him does no good, but educating him might. Tell him to pay attention to his attacks and what he ate prior to the attack, and I guarantee every time it'll be a high-fat food. Quite frankly, if that level of pain isn't enough to stop him from eating poorly, then nothing will. You are the asshole. You don't get to decide how someone else lives their life. I know it's hard to watch and even harder not to help, but clearly what you're doing is not making anything better. An addict will not stop being an addict just because you want them to be. I'm sorry for what your family is going through and I wish you the best. You are the asshole. Shaming, bullying, tough love, none of those tactics will make a whit of difference. A change in eating habits and/or weight loss are subjective, and unless an individual decides for themselves that they want to do it, no amount of shaming, cajoling or begging is helpful. To the person it is directed to, such things are seen as attacks. Whether it's apparent to you or not, your dad knows his health is being affected by his choices. Until he chooses change, if he ever does, the best you can do is make it obvious that you love him and that, should be asked, you will do all you can to support him. Stop attempting to control him, you've already seen what that does. Op. Your edit and update shows compassion and more understanding now. I wish you, your dad and your family only the best. Major, you are the asshole. His body, his choice. If the tables were turned, I am sure you would not appreciate being fat-shamed. People need to stop policing other people's bodies. 75 years is a full life. Let him enjoy the rest of it however he wants. As an adult, you should understand that. Unless you are in the habit of doing everything everyone else tells you to do. Am I the asshole for hating my neighbor's motherless children? Too long did not read. Neighbor's kids that lost their mum, 8F5M. Come to our place every day, bring bedbugs, cuss at my GM, ruin my mornings. Mum and sis love them like anything and don't understand why I hate them. My neighbor lost his wife last February, not to COVID. My mum said she'd like to take care of them with my M21 help. Naturally I agreed, because until then these two, 8F, 5M, hadn't had much contact with us, but their mum was quite friendly, so there was no way for me to know how big a nuisance they'd become. Then the pandemic started, and they started spending more time at our place. My sister and my mother became quite close to them around that time. Their house got infected with bedbugs. My sister, back home because WFH, and my mother, despite my numerous warnings, did not limit their coming to our place, as a result of which our house, one we've lived in for 20 years, got infested too. My dad doesn't live with us, so they shoved the responsibility on my shoulders to carry out all our mattresses for sanitizing and bug removal. I took it on because, well, I had no choice. Mum and sister usually threatened to kick me out of the house, and they did it again. After this happened, I begged them to limit their comings and goings, to no avail. Later, lockdown sleep schedule took me over. I'd wake up at 10 a.m. because I had literally nothing to do, and the first thing I saw every single day was one of the two crying because they didn't want to study, do their homework, whatever. The one thing I need in life is peaceful mornings. So now I was sleeping on the couch, because bedbugs, and I didn't really want to sleep on the same infested bed for a while, and I had my mornings ruined. Then the bedbugs came back again. Yes, double infestation. And they even took my couch this time, so I slept on the carpet for good 1.5 mallions before regaining the courage to get back on the bed. And again, obviously, I was the one who had to go out and risk exposing myself to COVID to get the mattresses cleaned and disinfected. Once things started to open up, my maternal grandmom, God rest her soul, came to visit. She was a teacher in her younger days and decided to teach the 8F while my sister handled 5M because I had run out of patience with both, and simply didn't give a fuck about them anymore. After a poor performance by 8F in even solving the most basic of questions, GM talked to me, I'm a part-time tutor, and realized she needed a more sterner approach. That day after the two went home for lunch, 8F called GM an adult word, and I know because we could literally hear her say it. Mum did punish her for it, but it didn't do shit. They eat here every day, neglect food that is made at their place every day. Their GM and dad have to eat leftovers because mum and sis act as proxy parents. There are many more similar instances, but these pissed me off the most. Edit. I only hate them because of the shit they've caused. I was more than happy to take care of them even in the beginning. Also, the dad is genuinely a good person, takes care of them the best he can. Edit. As a Redditor here pointed out, I don't hate the kids as much as I hate how my family has been responding to the situation. That actually opened my eyes big time. Edit 3. Why I can't move out. Am I the asshole for hating them? Bro. Their mom died. Them acting out in the slightest is understandable. You being a man, I can't even come up with a word for what you're being, so yeah, I'm going with you are the asshole. The rest of your family is being compassionate, doing what good people do. Yeah, the bedbugs suck, that's crap for sure. But they're kids, man. You acting like they're the scourge of the earth and ruining your life isn't helping anyone. Change your outlook, see how far that takes you. I think you'll find your life isn't so bad. Your mom's still alive. You are the asshole. It is weird for an adult man to say he hates an 8-year-old and 5-year-old child. Really weird. They may annoy you and you may not want to interact with them, but to say you hate them is very immature. It sounds like the rest of your family love them and have become their family and support system by proxy. You need to start acting your age. NTA your home has drastically changed without caring about your feelings. You don't hate the kids, you hate your mom and sister for parentifying you, taking your comfort and basically your safe space to do a ice thing for the neighbors. Really though, where is their dad? He should be looking after them. It's odd to expect neighbors to do it. I feel for you. It sounds horrible. You are the asshole. They're 5 and 8. You really think they deliberately got their house infected with bedbugs and then insisted that your mom and sister still came over just so that your house would be infected by bedbugs? Also, kids learn swear words, and then they use them. That's not a sign they're the devil or something. That's a sign they're acting out and testing boundaries. I don't see why on earth it's your problem at all that their grandma and dad have to eat leftovers. If you really want peaceful mornings, then live by yourself. Your mom and sister want to do this. You are the asshole. You are a grown-ass adult and you are jealous of a kindergartner and a third grader. Which is entirely your prerogative, but it's also entirely your problem. Your family care for these children. Good for them. You can get over it or you can leave. You're old enough to live on your own. You are the asshole. You're having an emotional reaction to a tough situation, but there are people in this situation more vulnerable and more harmed than you. So if you want to be a good person, you've gotta suck your emotions waaaay up on this one. You are the asshole. Who expects quiet at 10 a.m. because they choose to sleep late in a house that's not theirs? If you were a teenager that would be one thing, but you're not. Your mom is no longer required to order her life around yours. It sounds like you are not happy with your life. You feel like you are out of control. The children are just a part of that which you have latched onto. But let's be clear here, this is not their fault. The fact that you are blaming children who lost their mother, and are clearly struggling, makes you an infantile awe. You are 21. Stop blaming everyone else. You are the asshole. Would I be the asshole not getting a gift after being uninvited? I don't usually post, so please be patient. My 28F friends, 29M of 13Y got engaged in November last year and has been planning the wedding for the end of July. He never introduced or even mentioned his fiancée until they got engaged. He says they've been together for 5 years on, off. Since knowing my friend, I know of 3 other exes he's had. One about 4.5 years ago, so there may be overlap? IDK why he never told us about her. They are both SE Asian and have semi-strict upbringing, so I've never met his whole family, only his sisters who I get on with. Our group, 6M, 3F, were all invited. We wanted to arrange something before the wedding to meet her but weren't able to. 2 days ago, all 3 girls received a text message from a number we didn't recognize. It was from his fiancée. She took our numbers from his phone. She politely told us that culturally she didn't believe it was right that he had female friends. It would be inappropriate for us to come as people will talk. He denies this, and she is uninviting us at this point on his behalf because he didn't feel comfortable telling us himself. I was taken aback but said I understand and hope they have a lovely day. She replied thanks and she can't wait to meet us after the wedding. We have a mixed stag planned in a week from now which she said she hopes we have fun at, which also confused me. We approached my friend and explained we understand the situation but are disappointed that he didn't feel comfortable telling us himself. He blew up. He didn't know she'd text us and said they'd been fighting since January about her wanting to uninvite us, giving him a different excuse each time. It turns out she doesn't like that we were pretty girls who looked a certain type of way and were friendly with the boys in our group. Not my words, but his. He said she threatened to message us in their latest argument, so he told her to go ahead and look like a controlling bee. Then she did. We are hurt, and although we think they shouldn't get married, it's no longer our place to get involved, come across as sabotaging the relationship. We reassured him that if this is what he wants to do, we understand and we still wish him all the best, it's just one day. He has been nothing but apologetic since and keeps saying he can try to convince her to let us to attend, but we don't feel comfortable anymore. We were planning to get big group gifts but aren't anymore. I was talking to my boyfriend about getting a gift from myself and him because I'm still happy for my friend. My boyfriend said at the end of the day, she's uninvited me so I shouldn't be getting a gift at all. And even if I do, she may be malicious and throw it out anyway, so it's wasted money. I'm a bit torn, because he is still my close friend and I still want to get him something to celebrate, but I can't give just him a gift and we are no longer doing group gifts. I've never been someone for petty retaliation, but I also know I can sometimes be a people pleaser, which I'm trying to break out of. Would I be the asshole if I don't get them a gift? Not the asshole. This is not retaliation, but basic etiquette. Not invited equals no gift. After being insulted like this, I wouldn't even bother sending a card. Not the asshole. To me, a gift is only appropriate if you are invited or invited but declined going. In this case, you were uninvited by the future wife. While it's admirable that you are respecting her wishes, and also preventing any sort of issues in potentially rising with you pissing her off, that means she also removed the chances of you offering a gift. I think the best, happy medium, is just sending a thoughtful card to both of them congratulating them on their day. Shows you acknowledge the event but that you're not gifting anything because you weren't invited. Should gift him the business card of a good divorce attorney. Regarding the actual conflict you're seeking judgment on, nah. You and your boyfriend are both right. If you want to get your friend a gift, you're welcome to do that. However, you're under no obligation now. You've been disinvited and friend's future wife clearly dislikes the thought of you, so won't want it anyway. Your friend sounds like he's in for a lifetime of misery, and to be honest, if he can't even have his friends at his wedding, I doubt you'll be friends for much longer. Not the asshole. Since you are not invited, you are under no obligation to send a gift or attend any wedding-related events. YWNBTA. You'd probably be doing them a favor by not getting them a gift, as it may risk inflaming things further. Their relationship sounds dysfunctional, but the decision to not send a gift should be easy. You're also being as understanding as you can be and clearly do not owe them anything more. Not the asshole. The way the relationship seems to be going, there is a high possibility of them not even getting married or not staying together long. You can always wait and see how things turn out and give them something for their first anniversary instead. Though his fiancée seems like a controlling nutbag. Not the asshole. No invitation, no gift.